Chapter 3, Lesson 6, Day 2. Our objective for today, I will be able to write linear equations in standard form. Chapter 3, Lesson 6, Day 2, so our second objective, I will be able to write equations in standard form. Standard form is following these few bulleted points. An example is 2x minus 3y equals 7. Now our actual formula is ax plus by equals c. Now we spoke last week about this, and a lot of you said that you weren't familiar with it, so we're going to go over it again. So in order for us to have ax plus by equals c, standard form, notice our alphabetical order A, B, C, that makes it standard. The coefficient of x, so the number before the x, in this case a, or in our example here, 2, must be an integer greater than or equal to 0. So you cannot have a negative a. You cannot have a negative leading coefficient. The second one, there can be no fractions. So I also need to point out there can be no decimals. One more thing not written here. There can be no greatest common factor, no GCF of A, B, and C. So for us to do a couple of these, we need to first say, in order for us to do this, no matter what we have, we need our A, X, and our BY to be on the same side, and everything else, the constant, to be on the right side. So if I do this problem, I'm going to solve it normally, drop the wall, so letter A. Start by dropping my wall. Whatever I do to one side of the equation, I have to do the other. So it looks like right now I'm just going to look through. On the left, I have y minus 10. I can't do anything. On the right, I have a distribution problem. So I'm going to give that negative 4 to everything inside the parentheses. I get negative 4x minus 28. So now again, I need my a and my x's on the left side. So since x in this case is negative, I'm going to add 4x to both sides. Negative 4x plus 4x cancels. On the left side, I'm left with only minus 28. On the right side, I have 4x. Because there are no like terms there, I cannot add them to anything else. So I just have 4x plus y minus 10. I would be finished, except for there's still this 10 that should be a constant on the other side. So I get 4x plus y equals negative 18. Now I'm finished if there are no fractions or no decimals. Good. I'm finished if there's no greatest common factor of a, b, and c. We're good. And if x is greater than 0, which is 4, so we're good. Our answer, 4x minus y equals negative 18. So basically we're solving each of these equations so that x and y are on the left side and everything else is on the right side. Letter B, y minus 4 equals 1 times the quantity x minus 3. Again, my goal is to get x and y in standard form on the left side and regular numbers on the right side. So I'm really solving this for x and y on one side. So I'm just going to clean up what I can. Y minus 4 doesn't change, but I can distribute that 1. I get 1 times x is 1x. 1 times 3 is negative 3. Again, if you want to show the coefficient on the x, you can. You do not have to. I want to reference one more time the rules at the top of the page that a must be positive. Well, a is the number that touches x, or the coefficient on x. So since x is positive right now, since x is positive, I don't want to move it. I want to leave it alone. So in this case, instead, I'm going to move the y to the right side. Y minus y cancels. I'm left with negative 4 equals x minus y minus 3. Now I'd be finished except for I still have a constant over here, so I need to move to the other side. So negative 4 plus 3 is 1 equals x minus y. And now x and y are supposed to be on the left side, so I'm just going to flip that. X minus y equals 1. Oh, it should be a negative 1. Negative 4 plus 3 is a negative 1. So that should be a negative 1. And I'm finished. Letter C, we're going to do one more together. This is our first fraction, so the first thing I wanted to point out at the top, the rules, the directions. In order for us to do standard form, there can be no fractions. So the first thing I want to do is get rid of fractions. Well, if I do anything to equation, I have to do it to the whole thing, both sides, completely. So if I do this, I'm going to put this whole thing in brackets, and I'm going to multiply that by the denominator of the fraction. So I'm going to multiply by 2. If I multiply every single thing by 2, all of this fraction is going to disappear. So when I do that, I get 2y plus 2. It's almost like I'm distributing the 2 to everything. Equals 2 times a half is 1. So since I'm multiplying on the right, I only multiply the 2 to one thing. Now I'm going to clean it up if I can. 2y plus 2 equals, distribute the 1, x minus 4. X is positive, so instead I'm going to move the y. I get 2 equals, and again, if your leg dropped the wall, you're dropping the wall. 2y minus 2y cancels. I get 2 equals x minus 2y minus 4. I need to get my constants together. So I get 6 equals x minus 2y. From there, I need to flip that. My answer should be x minus 2y equals 6. I have no fractions. I have no decimals. There is no greatest common factor from A, B, and C. So I'm finished. Alright, you have 3 more problems on the front I would like you to look at and try on your own. So I need to take the next 5 or 10 minutes of focus time. Try each problem. When you finish, every problem should look like some kind of x plus some kind of y equals all the other numbers. Where A, B, and C are not fractions, they're not decimals. A has to be positive, and there's no greatest common factor from A, B, and C. To get you started on the first one, I need to get rid of that fraction first. I would multiply everything there by the denominator of 3. Please take a moment to pause the video and try those 3 on your own. Okay, please take a couple minutes to check over D, E, and F. If you have any questions, now's a good time to talk about it with your classmates, not to argue, but to talk about it. Each time I had a fraction, I multiplied by the entire problem, the entire equation, by the denominator to get rid of the fraction. I showed all those steps. I then distributed, and then I tried my best to get x and y on the same time, on the same side of the equation, without ever making x positive, so I didn't have to worry about that one rule at the top. When you're finished checking them over, flip this over, and we'll do the back. Part 2, writing an equation from a graph. So on the back, I give you 3 problems, 3 graphs. We're going to do the first one together, and then I'd like you to do the second 2 on your own. First thing we should start by doing is finding step 1 at the top here through step 4. Tells exactly what to do every time. Step 1 says identify the slope by finding the rise over run. So m equals. So now I'm going to go to the graph, and I'm going to find 2 exact points where this blue line crosses, or in your case the gray line, passes through 2 exact points. So I see one right here. There's an exact point, and let's see, there's another one up here, and that's it. So I need to count the rise and the run, or the fall and the run. So from the first point, I'm counting by ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The run is 2. So I get negative 5 over 2. Step 2 says find a point. I'm going to pick the easiest point, which it was this one, which is 0, comma, negative 2. Part 3 is plug the values into point slope form. So y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So our slope and our point, so y minus negative 2 equals m, negative 5 over 2, times x minus 0. It says make it pretty, so let's see. This is not pretty. This is not pretty. So I'm going to clean those up. So y plus 2 equals negative 5 over 2 x minus 0 is x. Part 3 is make it slope-intercept form. Well, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So we need the y isolated or alone. I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. We should get y equals negative 5 halves x minus 2, and we are finished. I'd like you to try the next two on your own. Follow the steps at the top, find the slope, find a point, plug them in, solve for y. So take this moment, pause the video, take some time. When you're ready, play the video, push play again on the video, and the answers will be there. Okay, please take a look at letter B and C. I went to the graph, I plotted 2 points. I then counted the rise and the run, or the fall and the run. Careful with letter C. Every unit, or every block is worth 2. So the slope for C, you should have gotten negative 4 over 6, which reduces to negative 2 over 3. And once you solve for y equals, your slopes are circled, or your equations are circled. Please take this time to look over in case I made a mistake and discuss it respectfully. If you have no questions, then you can use the rest of class time to start your homework. Good luck.